Me and Tyler have been playing New World. It's an MMO, which is not my usual wheelbarrow, but
It's a new world for Willer.
hey, I mean, it's not a new world; it's an abandoned world. I've been there before. I just don't go back.
So New World is Amazon's first MMO. It's mainly utilizing their Lumberyard engine, which
Cool.
is it's actually been a success this time. I think they've struggled with Lumberyard for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, watching the video play of y'all playing it and some other streamers play it, like it seems to be like holding up pretty well, especially for like a new engine.
I think I think all the concerns are like either systematic or like not meta, but like kind of overarching account stuff, like not being able to transfer when they promised you'd be able to transfer like servers, like weird outside of the gameplay stuff is the complaints I've seen.
Yeah, a lot of the people like on Steam right now, I think it has like a mixed review rating because it got review bombed on the first day because people were pissed they couldn't get into servers when there was a lot of servers available and they just didn't want to play on those empty servers.
I feel like also part of it is to like, because I know Final Fantasy does this where like they will just bottleneck you going in so you don't crash the server because everyone tries to log in.
I don't know, but the queue is like 200 deep. Yeah.
I haven't been in a queue since the first week.
Yeah, it was only the first week where it was like hot. Now it's just normal hot.
But we're also in a mid-population server. We don't really have issues like that. I don't even know what like the high population servers are, to be honest.
I have no idea if we're mid or low or whatever.
But this game doesn't do anything new, but it just kind of got everything. And it did everything well, which is difficult for some games to do.
I'd say what it has new is combat, because this plays like an action game as opposed to an MMO.
Yes.
You take damage and you recoil, and there's active frames in your attack that you can't cancel out of it, Dark Souls style. It's a third person, like you have attacks on cooldowns, but you shove the enemy, and like you interact with the enemy in ways that I think MMOs are really poor at doing. So it just feels like a really big action, like I'm not gonna say fully soul style combat, but it's approaching it.
It intertwines PvE and PvP content pretty well. So the game focuses around PvP. And different companies holding different territories, and there's 3 different factions that your companies can belong to. And so while your faction holds a territory, you get certain benefits in that territory. Not game breaking, but definitely apparent.
I think more important is like you give everyone else a detriment, which is taxes or whatever. So like if I hold this territory and you have to come here, you have to pay more for stuff. I think
your tax no matter what faction is. It's just the owning company sets the tax rates. So like there's a lot of wars that happen. Like in order to influence a war, it requires some PvE/PvP content. Like in order to make a war happen, the content is PvE, but you have to be in PvP mode to do that content. So other players can kill you while you're trying to do the PvE content, which is kind of cool.
What are you doing? Are you killing like boars and chopping down trees?
So whenever you try to influence a war, each territory has like a percent influence by the other 2 factions. So whenever you want to gain influence over a territory in order to start a war, everybody in that territory has 3 quests they do in order to gain influence. It's kill something, find something, stand in a spot, or deliver intel.
Yes, a classic war static.
Collect a resource, I think, is like a major one.
You collect a resource at one point and then deliver it to another point, and it's like, so that's the main one because that quest is infinite, and the main way wars have been commencing is like mass groups of people of like 30 or 40 players at a time will spam this quest, and we'll start a war, and a war will happen like every other day. Now,
apparently.
Yeah, apparently developers said the numbers are broken right now and way too many wars are happening. They should not be happening more. Like, it should not be happening. There should be a war maybe once a week.
Yeah.
apparently.
So once a day.
It was
Instead of once a day.
every 2 days, basically, we were at war.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
fun is like, so because everyone has access to this PvP quest, you might run into another group. So what happens is Tyler and I joined this big train of people, and as we were going, we got flanked by an equally sized train of the other clan who were like specifically going to kill us. Like they weren't like, we came out the west gate. They came out the north gate and like circled in on us. We got obliterated. I don't know if the group finished that quest, but every one of our friends just like died a straggler in the back as we're trying to like hold them back. I'm just trying to shoot them in the face and they're like rushing us.
I don't like PvP in most things. I don't like player versus player content, but this does it in a way of real mob mentality that makes it just silly fun that I don't have to take seriously.
I think it's really good PvP content.
I think the game sounds really interesting. It's definitely like an EVE Online scenario where I love hearing about what's happening in the game, but like
It's
I have
intimidating.
no interest.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yo,
You like hearing about it, but it's intimidating. Like start that whole shebang.
there's no
Yeah.
classes, so you're never locked into anything, which is nice.
See, that's a negative for me. But go on.
But there's builds you do.
There is-
And I normally like to specialize in something to feel value. But in this game, it feels nice to be able to just kind of do whatever I want at any given time.
I'd say there are
There's-
classes. It's your weapon. Your weapon has its skill tree, and it's
There-
like Final
there's-
Fantasy, where you're like, I'm gonna max out my spear, and then I can also max out my gun, and then my frost staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's DPS, tank, and healer. And it's like Guild Wars 2, where you go between the two weapons a lot during combat. And you can do builds that way. And then you have attributes like strength, dexterity, intelligence, focus, and constitution that you spec up into as well as you level up.
Yeah, I guess those are the limiters. Like, I can't do a magic class because I'm specking, and well, I guess I could, but there's certain classes I won't be able to do.
But yeah, you can like switch between any of the weapons at any given time if you're doing PvE content and just like play around and enjoy them. It's nice. It's like colonial fantasy magic setting too, which is weird because it's like I'm fighting giant werewolves and I look like I just colonized Roanoke.
God,
as well.
That's the thing though, is I love that setting. That's been like a setting that's been, I thought, untapped for years, is that colonial kind of like musket setting.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that they went with that.
It's neat. There's trade skills too. Like there's a huge, robust crafting system.
And like
that-
some of our friends are getting into it. Like so's Tyler. Like he's all about hemp.
Yeah. It's on par, I'd say, with like what is that game that everybody loves to just do the mundane chores in?
Final Fantasy 14? RuneScape?
No, RuneScape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you just go gather a lot of stuff. You pick up 90,000 rocks and then you go refine them at the forge.
Yeah.
And then your forge goes up as well.
I kind of want an
I'm
MMO.
loving it just because it's much more fun to play moment to moment than RuneScape.
You know what would be fun is that if there was an MMO where you did have that combat side, but like you can opt into, instead of leveling up via combat, you can opt in to level up via the crafting system, which I guess you can do. But like I want something like the Pokemon contest kind of thing where like your dungeons are like maybe a contest or a crafting workshop or something that's a little bit more engaging for you to do and a little bit more challenging. So you can get that like crafting side of things, but you can also have the engaging, intelligent, like
I feel like you're describing Toontown in a way, from what I understand, where like it's not.
Toontown's combat, it's turn-based combat.
Well, it's not all about combat because I feel like a lot of the times I heard them playing Toontown, it's like, oh, we're gonna go do the racing. Like, there's mini games that you compete in. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bradley.
What Joe's actually describing is Fantasy Life for 3DS.
Damn.
He's not wrong. I
Which
play
is
Fantasy Life.
we talked about in the 5th podcast randomly. I remember that.
God
Fantasy Life
damn,
is a
I
fun
love it.
game. I just, I wish it was a more console big game. It's a bit small.
Me too.
Um,
That company made more games, but
Yeah.
I think they stuck to like a mobile, which kind of made everyone sad.
We need
So-
that Switch release.
The story is lacking. There isn't really a story. Like there is, but
The what?
it doesn't. It doesn't break boundaries or
Final
anything. It just
Fantasy.
exists. The game is meant to be mostly player driven. Like there's no NPCs like vendors in the game. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
entire economy is done through players.
Yeah. Which,
I really like that because that matters a lot more, and it feels like the stuff you pick up matters a lot more. And what it does is that so long as everything has a value to it in some way, like crafting, people are going to buy and sell it. It's kind of like a Monster Hunter. Like, yeah, we're going to hunt this low-level monster with Tyler, but it's still viable for Willer and I because we can sell those parts. We get bonus things. Like,
the really cool thing about the market is there's a different market for each territory. So the market of supply and demand in a high-level territory that has a lot of maybe low-level items are going to be significantly cheaper than in the low-level territory where there's an abundance of them, and or like there's not a lot of bags in the low-level area because not a lot of people have access to those materials, but there may be a lot of bags in the high-level area, so they might be cheaper.
Systems. It's got cool systems.
Yeah. It's not terrible. It's a one-time purchase of $40 as well. MMO one-time purchase.
I'll take
hello.
it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Not microtransaction or loot box influenced or grind heavy in terms of like you have to do this dungeon 3 times a week in order to get like
all that stuff will come in year 2. So like get in while you can.
Amazon does not need to make money.
yeah,
Like this is not a cash grab game.
Like they'll find a way.
Yeah, they will find a way probably down the road, but this game at launch does not feel like it's meant to abuse me and take all my money.
Yeah.
Like
I'm sure it's sold well.
Yeah, like for the first time today, while we're talking about this, I opened up the microtransaction store for the first time. Like I didn't even know, like I looked at this menu multiple times and I never even like acknowledged that
What
tab
can you
is.
even get there? I feel like that steps on your point.
You can get like dye consumables, but there's only 5. There's 3 emotes, 6 armor skins, 9 weapon skins. Like nothing exists in this store. They didn't launch it with content in order to sell because they don't need it.
We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Hopefully positive. Anyways, if you're listening to this and you want to check out New World, join the Syndicate, which is the purple faction.
Hit us up on City of Brest server, East Coast. That's where we're at. You find us and get
City of Brass Syndicate. Go find Zanzuki. Ask the townsfolk; they'll know.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you see us around. Add Zanzi. That's me.
There we go, Zanzi.
Yeah, whisper me. That way I just don't ignore it because I don't add people I don't know. Stranger danger.
Oh, we're heading straight into some good stranger danger. Okay, I'll shift the schedule a little bit so I don't talk 3 times in a row.
All right.
But I finished The Great Ace Attorney, which I talked about briefly.
Oh, yeah.
I won't say too much because I don't want to spoil things for Joe.
But Willer.
Oh, but Bradley.
Sora gets in, Ace Attorney doesn't.
So the joke is Phoenix did the litigation against Disney to get Sora into Smash.
I like that headcanon.
At his own expense, of course, because
no, he. Yeah,
someone made a cute little comic about it.
That's funny.